Welcome back, Camden Catholic. Ha! All right, anyway, so we got to talk really quickly and swiftly about the 100 Years' War, right? Well, let's go ahead and get into the fact of this family tree right now. I know one of the classes has already gone over this, and it made a little bit more sense when we were talking about it, but just to kind of go over it really quickly. So, the 100 Years' War started all because of this, right? So there was a family dynasty of people known as the Valios family, right? I believe it's the Valios family. Now, this family, this one central family, ruled over France for hundreds of years, right? They were a dynastic reign in France. One of their central key guys is right here, Philip III, right? So Philip III is going to give birth to Philip IV, and Philip IV is going to continue to be ruler of France. Now, one of his cousins is Charles of Valios, right? A married-in cousin, okay? And his, bang, down one more, boom, Philip VI, all right? So, related by marriage, this related by blood. Well, here's the thing, though. Philip IV, leader of France, dies, and then his son Louis takes the throne, but only lasts for 2 years and then dies. And then his other son Philip takes the throne and only lasts for, count them, 6 years and then dies. And then this guy, Charles IV, takes the throne, but then only lasts for 6 years and then dies, leaving only person alive that is related to the King of France by blood, his daughter, Isabella. But here's the problem. Isabella is married to the current leader of England, and their child is Edward III. And when they die, Edward III became King of England. So the problem is that the French and the English are going to start a war based off these two guys, okay? The major players in it are Philip VI of France and Edward III of England, right? Edward III of England claimed that he had right to the throne due to the fact that he is related to Philip IV, the actual King of France, by blood. But the problem is the wealthy and the nobility in France did not, excuse me, there's a whole thing. I'm going to try my best to not, like, nerd out and AP, like, turn this into an AP flip or anything. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that many Frenchmen did not want an English ruler because they knew that that would just take French culture and suck it into the English, like, empire. So a lot of them wanted this guy to take the throne, Philip VI, which he is technically related to the King of France that just had died, but he's a cousin, okay? So, the thing about it is that Edward III and Philip VI are going to argue over this throne. However, Philip VI is going to end up taking the throne due to an old law called Salic Law, S-A-L-I-C, that says that no leader can inherit the throne or power through a woman, all right? So, very sexist, very messed up. Now, he is a cousin to Charles, the last king of France that died without any kids, right? So Philip takes the throne. Edward initially is like, all right, fine, be that way. Take the throne. I don't care. But the main thing is I still have Aquitaine down in southern France, and I own that. And then I also own parts of northern France, and northern France loves me, and so does the Burgundy family. They love me, and I make mad money off of them. So Edward felt like he should be in charge of controlling France, but he actually backed off. Here's the thing, though. Philip also, in a fit of spite, is going to confiscate land in France away from Edward. Edward doesn't like that. All right, so anyway, Edward is going to freak out, and war is going to break out in 1337 and was fought on and off again until 1453. Some of y'all are like, wait a minute. 116 years of war? These guys didn't even live that long. You're right, okay? Because here's the thing. The purpose, write this down somewhere like right here, the purpose of the war changed from who would rule France to who's more powerful, France or England, right? There was actually several moments when England was winning very early on. They were crushing France early on. France is only going to win after aligning with Scotland and several other people later on in time, but also because of a certain other special person. The 100 Years' War is going to be a massive pivotal point between the power struggles of two great empires, but the person that actually rose up to help defend France was, of course, you know her, Joan of Arc, right? She was 19 years old at her death, and she was born to a poor peasant family in a, like very, very, very farmland, or the countryside of France, right? So she apparently began to hear voices of God and saints at the age of 13, and took a vow of chastity at the age of 13 as well, and avoided actually an arranged marriage that was set up by her father when she was at the age of 16 and decided to run away and try to help France in the 100 Years' War, right? So the big thing is that she cut her hair and then dressed like a man and walked for 11 days to find Prince Charles, right, at a castle in a southern French town near Marseille. So, Prince Charles was the rightful heir to the throne of France, okay? Well, the problem is that France was occupied by the English, and the English and the northern French that actually were loyal to the English, they're called the Burgundy family, they aligned with the English, and they took over Paris, right? So, France was very highly about to lose this war. But apparently what Joan of Arc did is she showed up in front of Charles, and she was like, "Let me lead your armies. I have been bestowed by the grace of God." And he was like, "Pah! Calm down, lady. Let's not get aggressive." All right, anyway. But then, apparently, she took him to a private room, and no one knows what she did or said to prove it to him, but he came out and was like, "This lady is not kidding around." And apparently, she was going to be, no one knows what she said, but then Charles gave her an army, right? Gave her an army, and her first major victory was at the Battle of Orleans, right? So Charles granted her an army, and Joan had a huge victory at the Battle of Orleans in the third phase of the 100 Years' War, much later in time, and she actually destroyed a huge Anglo-English army. Now, she also, like a G, wore white armor and rode a white horse into battle because she's a stud, right? Ha, get it? Horse, stud. Anyway, so a lot of people believe that was to show her purity and her grace of God, right? Well, following that massive victory, she led Charles to Reims, where he was crowned King of France and actually literally basically saved the French monarchy, right? A lot of people are like, Joan of Arc's not that important. She just had a couple small victories. The big important thing was when France aligned with Scotland. Calm down. She's still a cool figure in history, right? So, unfortunately, she was captured outside of Paris in a battle when she got shot with an arrow and was wounded, right? So, the thing is, she was actually captured by northern Frenchmen. And the northern Frenchmen were like, "Hey, Charles, if you give us some money, we'll give you back to her." And then the thing happened, though, is that they were like, "No, we don't actually do these ransoms and crap." Fun fact, though, the northern Frenchmen were like, "All right, we're giving her to the English then." And so they handed her over to the English. And the crazy thing that's going to happen is the English are going to put her on trial in front of the Inquisition, right, for heresy, for 70 different charges that included witchcraft, heresy, and cross-dressing. You couldn't have just stopped at 69. You had to throw the cross-dressing one on there when she was, like, young and dressed like a guy so she could get through the countryside. Jerks, right? So anyway, but what's going to happen is she was held captive for over a year, and the English told her that she could live if she signed a document saying that she never actually heard God. Because the English did not want it going around their countryside that, oh, wow, God likes France, right? So anyway, because they gave this girl the power to beat us. So the document, like said, and she never heard God, but she refused to sign it. And then apparently she cross-dressed again, basically saying, screw you guys. And then after being told not to, and was burnt at the stake at the age of 19. Now, some people say it's like, well, how the heck did she get a hold of a bunch of guys' clothes if she was in the cell? I don't know. I feel like this was a total hatchet job, right? So anyway, now she cross-dressed again after being told not to at the age of 18, was burned at the stake. She was then canonized later and by Benedict the 15th in 1920 as the patron saint of France, right, for helping lead them to victory. I don't hang a lot on the 100 Years' War because the only really big thing about it was it's a political strife between two very solid countries. Also militarily it influenced a lot of things, but I'll basically explain to you how the late Middle Ages actually led to an economic boom leading into the Renaissance, so we'll come back and talk about the 100 Years' War a little bit. I just wanted to talk about Joan of Arc really briefly and talk about how France was losing battle after battle during the 100 Years' War until she arrived on the scene, right? So the big thing is... Oh, whoops. All right, so anyway, the big thing is, though, is just to know the 100 Years' War started over succession, right? Succession is the idea of who gets to be king. France is losing early on after they confiscated land from England. France lost for most of the war. And then actually in the fourth phase, France is going to end up winning, but we'll talk about some really cool stuff about how the terrible, terrible, terrible conditions of the late Middle Ages actually brought economic boom, excuse me, to the rest of Europe, all right? So that's it, all right? I told you it wasn't going to be too terrible and not too, like, grimy, but that answers the last 7 questions of your study guide. I will see you guys tomorrow, Canon Catholic. Review game time, right?